this is my first ever Reborn with Their Memories deal, and I was like, you know what? This has some incredible comedic opportunities, and I figured I'd talk about it. I don't know how long this will take, but I do know the one thing, we're gonna have some good laughs along the way. So, a little bit of startup. So my thought while writing it was, I was thinking Robert Baratheon is a man who has very limited information. He is not going to know about John. He is not going to know about Rhaegar and Lyanna running off together, and he's going to have a slightly skewed idea of uh oh, hey, how's it going? Uh Fabio? I think it's how you pronounce it. Yahia? Nice to see you. So yeah, we're just gonna go through this one pretty quickly, since we'll include some behind the scenes stuff that was originally not in the thing, but yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to do here was I was like, all right, so what are the major points of Robert's life? And I was like, all right, well, the major thing we have here is Robert Baratheon is fundamentally affected by the death of his parents, and that is going to hit him very hard. So what is he going to do? He's going to try to change that. And he's about the right age to do it. He's also going to try and make sure that Rhaegar doesn't kidnap Lyanna. This and so he's going to go about it in the most Robert Baratheon way he can by saying, "Hey, here you go. There's another lady who's probably better for you than an Elia Martell, who's a little bit more like Lyanna. Go for it, or at least his idea of Lyanna." The one good thing is Moran's effort. Yeah, we'll get to the Stannis being awarded in the Vale. Like a lot of people are like, Stannis doesn't hate Robert. I'm like, uh, Stannis res- every time Stannis talks about Robert is he doesn't like him and he thinks he's an asshole. And like I just see for me the only interaction that these two have, yeah, which is why it's very funny to write them. The Rhaegar and Robert Reborn episode is probably my favorite comedic episode, really, because I got to do so many funny things, and Bubba loved it too. There's one little bit that was cut by the editors because they thought it was a glitch, and I'm a little bit pissed they didn't include that because it was really funny because Boba was deliberately slurring his words to make it seem like he was drunk, but the editors thought it was a blooper and cut it out. I was like, oh, come on, that was funny. Shackles. I hate it when they do that. So whenever Boba, so I always listen to the the commentary or the raw um the raw audio, and if there's an ad lib, I'm like, all right, let's just put that in there so that we can idiot proof. Yeah, like he loves both of them, but while they're living, he's like gonna be super resentful.
What if Robert Baratheon was reborn with his memories? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Robert wakes up from another nightmare, the phantom pain of being gored by the boar slowly fading. Shaking, the young boy pushes the covers off himself and walks out into the courtyard of Storm's End, letting the rain wash away the memory.
Every night I dream about the boar, or killing Prince Rhaegar, or Lyanna Stark, or my parents.
The sudden idea comes to him. His father and mother are leaving for Essos to find a bride for Prince Rhaegar in a few days. Perhaps he could change things. From his memories, his mother...
So I actually got the ages wrong. I thought that Robert was at Storm's End. So Robert Baratheon, seen from I don't think so. I don't know what that is. Hey, how's it going, Autistic Artist? Good to see you. I don't know if I've seen it. No, I don't. At least I don't think so. Um, but yeah, this is one of my favorites too, and I really liked writing it. I actually got the ages wrong, and I got the locations kind of wrong. Part of the problem is George actually is really frustrating with Robert Baratheon's location and with just everybody's freaking location in this, where he is in the Vale for most of his life. Then he goes back to Storm's End to witness his family's death. And so I'm just like, so my thought was, okay, he goes with them, and I messed it up because he's probably like 16 or something like that. Not, huh. Okay, interesting. I will have to check it out. It's very intriguing. Okay. But yeah, so my thought is, Robert is like, my life sucked. I'm going to avert it.
And father had only died because of unhappy chance. If he could delay them by even 2
Thank
days,
you.
if he could go with them,
I
perhaps he could
appreciate
change his
that.
fate. Maybe he could save Lyanna. Maybe he could avoid being married to Cersei, avoid becoming a fat, drunken king. When Stefan Baratheon and his wife, Cassandra,
you.
depart, they bring young Robert along. As they go, Stefan sits his son down and gives him some instructions.
Son, this trip is of the utmost importance. My friend King Ares has entrusted me with this mission, and I need...
So, we have not really used Stefan Baratheon very much. And I was like, all right, here's an image. And I gave them Thorin Oakenshield from the Hobbit movie, specifically the third Hobbit movie, because he looks like an older Robert Baratheon. Like he looks like how you picture Stefan Baratheon. He's even got the thick coat on. Then they picked this, and I was like, the heck? I was so irritated. Beyond irritated, in fact. And yeah, George's timeline is a barely coherent mess. I'm just like, especially around Robert's Baratheon. I really don't understand it at all, and it's hard to make sense of.
you to be on your best behavior.
Of course, Father. I won't embarrass.
One thing that I did make a little mistake on is that I did not focus enough on. My thought was he goes to King's Landing rather than the Vale, without realizing, oh, he went to the Vale and then went to Ent there, and so that was a slight mistake on my part. And I was just like, no, I kind of want to just write these two chuckleheads becoming fun in friends. Would have been so much better. Yes, because let me one so let's kind of pick out. So this was the image that I selected and told them, hey, use this. Because doesn't this look like he could be Bobby B's dad? Like, doesn't that look like he could be Bobby B's dad? It looks pretty much perfect. Like, even the thick, like, bear skin cloak, you know? Even like little things like this, like that looks so much more like Bobby B. Yeah, pretty decent Alex Stark. I'd put that in. If we ever start, I don't know how they would do a Jaehaerys show because it's a meandering nothing burger of a reign where barely anything happens, and George was just kind of coming out. Yeah, still funny that they chose. I'm honestly just like, really, really, why? I don't get it. Um, yeah. Anyway, a lot of it. So another thing that I did want to do is kind of go into the theory that uh, Tywin was going, if Stefan succeeded, he was going to be named Hand, and I'm like, yeah, if he brought that makes sense, and so that would make it so that Robert is going to be in King's Landing learning from his dad, which puts him into contact with Rhaegar, and so that's kind of one of the things that I wanted to do while I was doing this.
Barrister.
In his mind, he remembers John Arryn in council meetings, how he would talk to the other lords. He'd only been paying half attention, but after having several dreams of the few small councils he'd attended, Robert could see the wisdom in John. Hopefully now he could implement it. He had to. His parents' lives hung in the balance. Maybe if they could find a girl like Lyanna, perhaps Rhaegar would never abduct her. When they arrive in Volantis, they're met with many lords and nobles.
Let me try. So, well, specifically this image right here is the one that I wanted them to use. This one, specifically when he's in the gold. So, yeah, he's a better man than Tywin. I didn't really focus a lot on him becoming Hand. Maybe I should have. But I was more. But you kind of have to pick your battles in the word count here, because I went a little bit over the 10. This is before the 10,000 word limit, which kind of makes it so that these videos are no longer than about, say, 48 minutes-ish, depending. So, yeah. 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 This is kind of I agree to a certain extent, but the Hobbit movies are better than the prequels. I will die on the hill that the Hobbit movies are better than the Star Wars prequels. Yeah, it is definitely bloated. And it comes from just Peter Jackson kind of just throwing stuff at the wall and not having enough time to do his job.
Nobles displaying their daughters to the king's representative. Each one Stefan decides to pass over, but Robert notices a young daughter of one of the Triarchs. Her name is Ashara Pennymoyne. For the longest time, out of all the families of Volantis, her family has claimed.
Yeah. So, this is a slight, so this is a slight bit of, this is interesting bit of lore. So, I probably should have put, a pronunciation thing, or made it a little bit easier, because it wasn't supposed to be Ishara, it was supposed to be Ilshara. I-L. It was supposed to be this. Yeah, I can hardly blame him either. But yeah, so it was supposed to be Ilshara, not kind of after a magical barrier in the, what is it, the Lycanius trilogy. Fairly good trilogy, honestly. It's really interesting mind-bendy time travel stuff, but it's actually not bad. And so my thought was kind of just, this is the relationship between, this is going to be kind of our relationship pair. Way too fitting, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I was like, where do I find something good? And I was like, you know what? Let's just pick Shiara Seastar.
Be a direct descendant of Dragon Lords. Also, she looks the image of Shiara Seastar, with silver hair, pale skin, and blue eyes. But on top of being beautiful, she's outspoken and often prefers to go riding out in the countryside rather than simply sit. Though Stefan initially doesn't think about her, Robert has his father give her another consideration.
Father, I know Prince Rhaegar's taste in girls. He'll like Ashara. She has a fire in her that will appeal to him.
You're sure? It wouldn't do to have her rejected.
Trust me.
So, butcher the pronunciation. So Boba actually has dyslexia. So I think that he just got the he, like, sometimes, like, when he's reading, it's well, Amelia, I haven't done a lot of Quaithe stories, and she's the only person theoretically that could be Shiera Seastar. Or at least that will be believable for her to be, unless we just kind of throw her in apropos of nothing. For sure, in the 3 or 4 upcoming theories that I'm writing, no. So my thought was but this it's not a matter of we just write wrong. I think it's just Boba because it's I didn't put the so that's how it looks in the looked in the doc, and my assumption is Boba put that in. Just that's how he read it because I fully understand how that came to be because it doesn't I didn't write it with all capitals. I probably should have to make it a little bit easier. But um I'd like to. I don't know where I could implement it though. Is the only thing. Um and a lot of it I'm just we don't really have a lot of pretty much everybody use some crack theories. Well, one of the problems is we don't really go with one of the things is we I'll often get sidetracked and it's hard to kind of bring her in as anything other than I think the only time I've really used her was in the Robert Reborn script. No, Robert Independence script, sorry. And my thought was with that, I kind of just I'm looking at all of these stories and I don't know how we can get to the east because if she's in the east, the rough that's the rough bit that kind of just makes things difficult. I don't know how to get her over there unless Brendan Rivers comes along. I I honestly just don't know how I would include her, especially with some of the prompts I've got. Most of the prompts that I'm seeing on the Trello are kind of these are bad. All right, I'm just like I gotta join a couple of these because I don't know how they. I want to make sure these are done well. There's some crazy ones. We have a few that I mentioned that are going to be interesting in the near future, like Tywin marrying Olenna. Um, no, I have to actually suffer through it and see if the leaks were true, and then we can say, um, and then I actually have a reaction in my little list. Where did I put it? Do, 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 do. Oh, here.
Everything they said was true.
And I shall use that frequently because I do quite love, as well as this also.
For some reason, we've just got rampant degeneracy. I don't really know what's going on here.
Yeah. But yeah, the line.
Everything they said was true.
May play frequently during that episode. We'll see.
Here, Latka. Let's go to King's Landing with her.
Stefan tilts his head, examining his son more closely. There was something in the boy's tone, a sense of urgency.
Robert, what's going on?
I just want you to succeed, Father.
Yes, but there's something more. You can tell me. Is it that you like Ashara yourself?
No, Father. I already know the girl I want to marry. And
Yes. Yes, she is. Let me check. So, Elena. Lena Tyrell. Her age, she was born 228 AC. I win. I hate it when it does this. Is born 14 years after her. So let's kind of play this out logically. It's so the only thing that I can think of that would make this make sense is that if she basically snaps him up really quickly, and just pulls a dude, I'm gonna fuck you, gonna have sex with you better than anybody else you'll ever have, and like she has one more kid in her, maybe has like one or two kids in her, um and so but yeah, it's the prompt. I don't know how I'm gonna have to do, but the nice thing is I can just use yeah, a big part of it. Or the red wines, that is actually possible. Because that is possible where they're like, hey, let's have the heirs to both Casterly Rock, since they married a Frey. He married his daughter to a Frey, and not even the heir to the twins. Just some loser jackass. Or loser pansy, I should say.
And it's not Shara.
Really? Who?
Lyanna Stark, Rickard Stark's daughter.
Well now. All right then. I'll trust you, Robert.
Initially, the lady is unwilling, but Robert uses the skills he's remembered from his old life to charm her with stories of Prince Rhaegar's gallantry, his martial skill, and his abilities with the harp. In the end, Ashara agrees to come to them with King's Landing. On the ship, Robert continues to talk to Ashara about the Seven Kingdoms.
So, Lord Robert, tell me about this Prince Rhaegar. You painted quite the picture.
He's one of the best tourney riders in the Seven Kingdoms. He's unhorsed several great knights. He's quite fond of girls like you. Fierce, knows how to speak her mind.
Well, I look forward to meeting him.
When the party arrives in King's Landing, King Aerys is still suffering from the events of the Defiance of Duskendale. His appearance has deteriorated, his hair is unkempt, and his fingernails are an inch long. However, Prince Rhaegar looks like a perfect prince, tall, strong, with sad, purple eyes.
Your Grace, after searching for a bride for your son, I have found a lady worthy of Rhaegar. May I present
definitely.
Ishara Penimion.
Gracefully, Ashara walks to Rhaegar and gives him a long, considering look.
That was actually built from a fan website. I was just like, are there any known Valentine House? And I couldn't find very many. But I found Penimion in some fan thing. Yeah, and he just has no idea. Yep. And that's kind of the funniest part is just, he's like, he's got to be this lustful monster who just wants to have sex. Wait, he's an idiot who's obsessed with prophecy? What gives?
You are a very pretty prince. I suppose you'll do.
Aerys immediately bursts out laughing.
I like this girl. She has spirit. Well done, Stefan. Well done indeed. For this great service, I name you Hand of the King. Tywin, why don't you give your pin to Lord Stefan?
Robert blinks and glances towards his father,
Yeah,
who seems just as
yeah.
surprised. Lord Tywin Lannister, the man who Robert had mistaken for a king as a boy, looks furious. However, the Lion of the Rock says nothing. He only walks over to Stefan and places the pin on the Lord of Storm's End's lapel.
Be careful, Stefan. He's not the same man we knew. Thank you, Tywin. I'm really sorry. I didn't know. I know, old friend. Take care of yourself. And young Robert, your father speaks highly of you. I will look forward to seeing your progress.
Robert smiles, but he
Yeah, so with this one, I just kind of wanted to have an exchange where Tywin is like, yeah, watch yourself, dude. He's bad. Ruler of Atlantis? I didn't see that on the wiki that I had. I didn't find that on the wiki that I found. All I was able to find was the fact that, or just able to find some fan thing that they were some kind of dragon lords back in the day. Likely it's all made up. since we legit have very little. The only like named house that we've gotten is My Gear, and that's show only. So, which I was able to use in the John going to Valyria script, but other than that, oh my gosh, we're 20 minutes.
Knows this man and what he's capable of from the memories of his past life. When he looks at Tywin, he sees the bodies of Elia, Rhaenys, and Aegon lying on the floor covered in Lannister cloaks to hide their blood. Hopefully, he's averted that future. Maybe there wouldn't be any need for any children to die. Within the month, Ashara and Rhaegar married, and nobody is happier than Robert. Perhaps now that Rhaegar had a lady like Ashana, there wouldn't be any chance of losing Lyanna. With Stefan Baratheon at hand, Robert's life drastically changes. Rather than being fostered in the Vale, Stefan brings Robert to King's Landing with him and has him shadow him.
He should have already been fostered in the Vale. I thought that it would be an alternative. That was my mistake, but at least it's some funny
meetings. Without Tywin's overambitious grasping, Aerys' condition manages to improve somewhat. With a solid, dependable hand who has no desire to usurp him, Aerys simply entertains himself with grand projects that are never built, since Stefan simply redirects his friend to playing with surveying the realm.
Your Grace, I know that the Defiance has had an impact on you, but you must present.
So it was actually supposed to be playing with wildfire and stuff like that, rather than other things.
The image of a king to your subjects. It is important that you look the part.
You are right, Stefan. But only men I can trust have blades near me. There's always assassins in every corner, seeking my life.
Stefan conceals his concern of the king's clearly fragile mental state and contents himself with having a barber that he's personally chosen to tend to the king. Despite Stefan's best efforts, Aerys continues to deteriorate, becoming more and more obsessed with wildfire. During this time, and despite his best efforts, Robert actually finds himself spending a great deal of time around Rhaegar, perhaps because he wishes to know the man he remembers hating for his last years of life. But also Rhaegar seems actually grateful for him introducing him to his wife.
Robert, I do appreciate you bringing Ashara to me, but I would like to know why her. Well, I just thought about what I knew about you and gave my father advice based on that. But we'd only talked once, and that was several years before. I'm a different man than I was then. I didn't have a purpose yet. I didn't know what needed to be done. Well, maybe I picked a woman that was similar to the one I might have wanted.
Rhaegar tilts his head and gives Robert a considering look. Something in the answer was far too much of a dodge. He had to figure out what was going on.
Robert, you introduced me to my wife, choosing someone who I would get on well with, and you did so based on minimal information. How could you have known that we have similar tastes?
Robert knows he's trapped. He either has to tell a bold-faced lie, avoid it, and push it off for another time, or just tell the truth.
You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Try me. Can we just say lucky intuition and leave it at that?
If you have knowledge beyond that of a mortal man, I would like to know. I've been studying prophecies for most of my life. It's what convinced me to be a warrior. There's something coming, Robert, and I need men who I can confide in about the future war. If you ever want to talk about your gifts, please tell me. Robert reassesses Rhaegar. He wasn't someone who wanted to fire a young woman. He was a loon obsessed with prophecy.
I may have made a big mistake.
To compound his
Yeah, so originally that I just had the upcoming conversation, but then I realized, you know what, let's put let's put a conversation with Rhaegar where he's like, I really don't know what's going on, Brendan. I finally have an opportunity to drive the Blackfires to extinction, like you've done in 1,000 other timelines.
confusion, Ashara comes to chat with Robert, clearly somewhat bemused.
Robert, you have gravely misled me as to the character of my Silver Prince.
How so?
He's rather melancholy. Yes, he does listen to my opinions, but he's not exactly that martially inclined. Honestly, I was expecting to be more like you.
Robert blinks and starts thinking. Had he been wrong about Rhaegar?
Well,
surely the Rhaegar who had
it's
taken Lyanna would
actually-
have been obsessed with a girl like Ashara.
So the kind of idea that I as far as I am aware, and I could very well be wrong, is that My Gear was invented as invented for the show. It's my well, no, actually, I think that actually maybe not. Oh yeah, since there's a whole thing where um um there's a My Gear family in there, and George just threw it in. Okay, but it's interesting because they're a on the wiki of Atlantis. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, the My Gears is kind of weird. They don't really show up too much from they and it's kind of interesting that they're the tigers of all things and are very much like not it very much not very anti-slavery, very pro-slavery and pro-war and that sort of thing. Yeah, and kind of a that's interesting. Yeah, let's keep
Right.
going.
What was going on? Clearly, he was missing something. He quickly takes his leave and runs to the Tower of the Hand. Stefan looks up from his work while his oldest son enters his office.
Robert, what is it? I need your advice on something. All right. Is it about a girl? A little bit. It's more about something I don't understand. Something I've been struggling with for years.
Stefan interlaces his fingers and examines his son. Robert always liked.
And my thought was, so with this, I was just like, you know what? Robert would just go for his dad for advice, to say, hey, what's going on? Hey, I gotta help. I don't understand things. Dream of Spring. Sunshine Winds of Winter. Honesty is the best policy. Yeah, I don't know if he has the skill to do anything else. And I just wrote it. He's just going to like try to completely change history because he's not good. He doesn't like the way the things turn out. And for me, I'm just like, if I get a Reborn with their memories where somebody doesn't like their outcome, they're going to wildly change it as soon as it becomes possible. Especially Robert. Robert hated his life.
Spending time with him, as he had put a premium on it, or if he were making up for lost time. Also, Robert didn't often act like a boy his age. He often talked with a level of confidence and rhetoric skill that was unusual for boys like him. Stefan always wondered about it, and perhaps this was his chance to solve the mystery.
Sit down, son. I'm listening.
Robert explains everything, from his visions of Stefan and Cassandra dying in Shipbreaker Bay, to the tourney at Harrenhal, Lyanna being taken by Rhaegar, the rebellion, the deaths of the Targaryens, all of it, including Robert's own death, gored by a pig. When Robert finishes, Stefan pauses and examines his son with a speculative look in his blue eyes.
So much makes sense now. That's why you were so insistent on coming with me and making sure Shara married Rhaegar. Yes, I didn't know any other way to save you and Mother. It seemed easy enough. I never anticipated you'd become Hand. So, you led a rebellion that ends with you on a throne. Yes, and I'm utterly miserable married to that bitch Cersei Lannister. So you believe that this Lyanna Stark can help? I believe so. She's everything that I wanted in the previous life. But I'm starting to wonder. Rhaegar isn't the man I thought he was. He's a loon obsessed with prophecy, and he barely sleeps with his own wife, even though she's not frail like Elia. I'm concerned of what to do. Well, why don't you just tell him? What? Hear me out, son. You clearly want to avert this future of yours. And perhaps the best way is to support Rhaegar. Understand why he might have taken Lyanna. You've done a great deal of work to ensure that doesn't happen, but perhaps you should just talk with him about your visions.
Robert stares at his father, unable to comprehend telling Rhaegar, the man he hated, his secret. However, he considers it. He finds the prospect to be actually liberating. Slowly, he nods and stands up. Before he goes, Stefan pulls his son into an embrace that Robert returns. Rhaegar is sitting in the library when Robert pulls up a chair next to him and hands him a cup.
You and I need to talk. There's a lot we need to discuss.
All right. What's
that prophecy shit you've been talking about? It's a crock of fucking nonsense.
What?
Yeah.
There's no such bloody thing. And I would know. I've had one in my
Yeah, this bit does it kind of this.
head for almost
just,
20 years. And you know what? I've averted what I saw because I hated the future that I was seeing.
Rhaegar blinks, staring at Robert in amazement. Robert takes a swig of wine and gestures at Rhaegar to drink.
Drink. Your king commands it.
What?
Sorry, force of habit. I should probably explain.
As Robert tells him the full story, Rhaegar...
I felt like there would be little things that he would go, yeah, you know, Baratheon is man. Yeah. He just do what Ares the First didn't like. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. But yeah, with this, it's just Robert just gets to lay into Rhaegar and say, you are an idiot. What is wrong with you? You make no sense. You are dumb. And he's kind of correct. And just kind of laying into him saying, prophecy's dumb. You shouldn't go after it. And he would just be like, yeah, I hated my life. And so I've changed things.
Keeps drinking periodically, the full horror of the future at this man's hands unfolding before him. Finally, Robert finishes his story and Rhaegar rubs his forehead.
So you kill me, become king after Tywin murders my wife and children, my siblings are exiled, and you end up getting fat and lazy.
Yep, that about sums it up.
So why are you telling me?
Because I don't bloody understand you. I don't know if you're a different man here than you were there, or if you've just never been the man I thought you were.
I don't know why I would have taken Lyanna Stark, but if the issue was that I was married to Elia Martell, then perhaps it was just because there needs to be 3 heads of the dragon to face what's coming.
Oh, So it's not because you're a lustful monster. You're just a damn loon.
That may be the first time in my life a man has dared insult me.
So? They should probably do it more often. Do you even like Ishara?
I like her quite a bit. It's just I'm mainly preoccupied with the marriage as a means of making children.
You're an idiot. You know that, right? You have a beautiful woman who wants you to take her to bed often and do all sorts of things with her. Why don't you take advantage of that?
Well, I never gave it much thought.
All right, that's it. You're coming with me, Princeling.
Robert grabs Rhaegar's arm and starts dragging him to his rooms. Ishara is waiting for them, wearing a dressing gown and reading a book on the couch.
Rhaegar? Robert? What's this?
I've had a lengthy talk with your husband, and he's come to the conclusion that he's been a colossal and complete idiot.
Do tell.
He's being hyperbolic, my dear. I
want to hear what Robert has to say. Please, continue.
Rhaegar gives Robert a bleeding look, which Robert ignores and just barrels forward. This had to be done. It was for Rhaegar's own good.
Well, he's realized that he's been going about...
Yeah, so a lot of that previous thing is just the Rhaegar just go, okay, so all of this happens? Dang, I'm in for a terrible life. And I like kind of Boba's delivery where he's like, where he just in shock summarizes what's going to happen to him. And Robert just goes, yep, that about sums it up. And he's just like, I don't get you. You don't make sense. Sir Arthur, lock the door. Yeah, that bit's funny. But yeah, this is honestly one of my funniest videos. Robert and Rhaegar Reborn, I think, is funnier. Though the Laenor actually fathering Rhaenyra's kids has got some really funny stuff, like Aegon the Belly Dancer and so many other things. I need to actually put that into a video sometime where they're dressing up in women's clothing thing. I just didn't mention anything about
this whole marriage thing all wrong, and being in bed with his wife involves more than just him spreading his seed. I hate you. You'll thank me later. Anyway, Ishara, Rhaegar intends to stay in your rooms with you for the next few days and ensure that you are fully satisfied, and that you get to try every single pillow trick you might have on him.
This isn't...
What a marvelous idea, Robert. You can leave. I won't let our innocent princeling escape or put on any clothes for the next few days.
Robert, you can't just leave me here.
She's your bloody wife. Have some fun. It'll do you some good and be very amusing for me. Very good, Ishara.
Gladly.
As Robert closes the door, Ishara grabs Rhaegar and pulls him into a long, passionate kiss. Casually, Robert locks the door, then glances meaningfully at Arthur Dane.
Don't let them out of there, at least until the evening after next. Prince's orders.
Arthur Dane chuckles and leans against the wall, then covers his mouth to stifle a laugh as very enthusiastic sounds of pleasure start coming out of the room. Robert can't help laughing as well, completely at peace for the first time in a long time. It was all coming together. Rhaegar and Ishara, and Robert would have Lyanna. When the prince and his wife finally emerge, Rhaegar seems barely able to walk, while Ishara has a veritable skip in her step.
So, how did it go?
Robert, I didn't know you could do some of those things. I couldn't imagine it.
So is the princess satisfied with her husband's change of heart?
Quite satisfied. I think we should do it more often, though less sustained. I can hardly wear my husband down to a stump.
Robert and Ishara burst out laughing as Rhaegar blushes. To take the sting out, Robert claps the silver-haired prince on the shoulder. Now extremely curious, Robert leans forward.
So, what did you all do? I'm going to need copious details. Robert.
Oh, Rhaegar, it's fine. So what I did first was...
Ishara lays out the details on their nocturnal activities. Rhaegar's face turns from pink to bright red. Robert listens to everything with wide eyes until Ishara finishes the story.
You know, maybe I shouldn't have set you two up.
Oh, bugger off, Robert Baratheon.
Within a year, a son, Aegon, is born with Valyrian features, much to the king's pleasure. Then a girl named Visenya. During that time, Robert takes the Prince of Dragonstone to every wineskin and pot shop in Fleabottom, showing him how to have a good time. Rhaegar quickly grows in popularity.
Yeah, so with that one, I just was like, you know what, let's just have a little bit of fun here, where she's like, just completely okay with just being super how to put it, they're just saying, yeah, I like having sex with Robert or sex with Rhaegar, and just kind of that, just having that little bit of coquettishness, I guess. I'm trying to remember what I was saying about the Prince of Dragonstone. Yeah. And the thought that I had was, we're just gonna have a little bit of fun here, and just basically just have Rhaegar just be this innocent explain yourself. I was thinking about don't. Yeah, but yeah, that was my thought process with this whole thing is, let's just kind of have, Boba did cut out a little bit, and I guess where Rhaegar's just kind of fiddling with her, but where like she's just kind of opening up her dress and stuff, but nothing was really described, I guess. But in terms of this scene is just meant to be kind of silly, where she's just like, yeah, so we did this and this and this, and my girlfriend, when she first saw it, she was like, I want to know. Oh, why did you let? Why is it? I want to know what happened. It was honestly really funny. I need to It was honestly really funny. Um uh let's let the prince have his glorious death. Indeed. And yeah, so I was thinking about having Robert and Rhaegar have a drunk conversation where they just kind of chat about random stuff. I ended up putting that in the Rhaegar and Robert Reborn, since I figured I should cut that, but it was kind of the main thing I wanted to do there.
The people of the city, as Robert attempts to show him what life is when you don't focus on prophecy. While his son spends time with Rhaegar, Stefan attempts to secure the throne's power by arranging betrothals to the young Targaryens. Unfortunately, Aerys proves very difficult to work with. Loras Tyrell is rejected in abnormally spectacular fashion by Aerys.
That was a slight mistake. I should have put Willis. That was my bad.
As is Cersei Lannister for Viserys and young Aegon.
I will not marry my grandson to a fat fucking flower and a gasping gold-shitting lion. Get out of my court before I feed you to the flames.
Stefan buries his head in his hands as Tywin and Mace leave the Red Keep in a fury. Robert and Rhaegar exchange words.
This is the critical point where all of the problems start coming in, where he just insults both of them to their face, which is really... And I deliberately... Any chance of buying that? You know, one of these days I'll put that in there. Just because I think that would be hilarious. I mean, Tywin tore it down a year ago. But yeah, this is the inciting incident where we finally... Since one of the things I was just like, what antagonist possibilities do I have here? And in the end, I realized, oh, Tywin and Mace. They're actually solid antagonists that throw in the Blackfires. I made up a new Blackfire, since this was another one where I got the timeline wrong. I thought that Sarah Blackfire died a while back. Turned out that was not the case. She actually dies quite a while after this. And I honestly was just like, oh dear. I was incorrect about the timeline. Yeah, I'll need to... Yeah, Jason Lannister as Tywin Reborn would be really, 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 really funny. And not every details get in the way. Those are just kind of like...
Aerys has just single-handedly offended two of the single most powerful and richest houses in Westeros. They'd have to go to a great deal in order to make sure that the damage Aerys is doing to the realm is not permanent. Together with a very pregnant Ashara, the prince and his friend plan a tournament at Harrenhal to create an impromptu great council to unseat Aerys. They even bring Lord Stefan in the planning, and though this Lord of Storm's End is reluctant, he knows it's best for the realm. In Casterly Rock, Tywin stews over the insults to himself and his family. Jaime stands next to his father, somewhat unsure of what to do.
Insufferable madman. You'll destroy everything.
What should we do, father?
Perhaps we can ally with the Tyrells to simply unseat Aerys, but I prefer to wait to see if we can make a deal with Rhaegar. He's the only person who we can support who wouldn't cause a civil war.
The knock at the door announces a messenger. Tywin accepts the letter, then frowns. With a request to meet in the Shield Islands. No signature, but there's a single line that makes his eyebrow raise. There are more dragons, right above the three-headed black dragon sigil.
A Blackfire? I thought they were extinct.
We may have been premature in that thinking.
Did we tell the king?
No. I think we should back a different dragon. If this is truly one of the Blackfires, then our future may be assured with this alliance.
When the two men arrive at the small keep in the Shield Islands, they're met with three people. Mace Tyrell is easily identifiable, but there's another pair of fat men next to a slim, silver-haired woman, Viserys and Illyrio Mopentis. Tywin inclines his head at the Lord of Highgarden, then turns toward the spider and the cheesemonger, eyes speculative.
So, what is the meaning of all this? I would very much like to know that as well.
I've asked you both to come here to hopefully create an opportunity for you both to change your fortunes. Both of you were rejected in a rather spectacular fashion by the king, and a refusal like that is bound to breed resentment.
He did call me a fat flower.
Tywin doesn't speak. Instead, he examines the lady next to Illyrio. She's clearly beautiful, but there's a glint in her eyes that gives him cause to think she is intelligent as well as attractive.
I know you, Illyrio Mopentis, but who is your friend?
My name is Visera Blackfire. My good brother and I are here to make a deal with you, Lord Tywin. And you, Lord Tyrell.
All right.
Yeah, this whole long conversation was just I pulled a little bit of an idea from where I think it was the Jamie getting in with Jamie getting sent to the Night's Watch video where I was like, okay, that's a decent idea where we pull in Tywin and Mace Tyrell and basically just the affronted parties into a coalition together. And that was kind of my thought process there. So that's what I did. And this is just kind of a haggling situation where we get to kind of have the running joke of Mace being very, very offended by the fact that they called him the Fat Flower, which I just think is it's probably not accurate at this point in time, but it's really funny.
I'm listening.
I've been aiding the Blackfires for many years, ever since I married her sister Sarah. However, sadly, she is dead, and the last Blackfire is our son
Yeah,
and her sister.
slight mistake here.
I mean to bring the Black Dragon to the throne that they've always deserved. And you two stand.
Illyria is really rich. My thought is that Tywin is just makes his business to know about various businessmen, and Illyrio is a magister of Pentos and is stupid rich. That would be my idea for why, because I would know anybody he wants to get into business with. That would be my thought process, at least.
On the cusp of gaining the Iron Throne.
Now, that would be nice. I'd greatly enjoy forcing Ares to eat his words. Flower indeed. I agree. But what's in it for us?
I would be willing to cement this alliance by marrying Lord Tywin's heir, Sir Jaime, and our children would sit the Iron Throne.
And what's in it for me? My house would be a great risk if this came to war.
We intend to appoint you to the position of hand, along with a very favorable trade contract with Pentos and any free cities where I hold sway. Both Lord Tywin and you would select the small council.
Well, this plan is tempting. Rhaegar Targaryen is still well liked by many of the royal families. You would have a very large problem facing you if he's alive to rally the remaining great houses.
Oh, we have a plan to deal with the Silver Prince. Once he's removed, then the plan can go through.
You mean to murder Prince Rhaegar?
Yes, we do. Or at the very least, remove him from the board.
At that point, Tywin agrees to the plan. There would be great risks, but great rewards. So long as Viserys is immediately married to Jaime and comes to Casterly Rock as insurance, he agrees. However, they would not make any moves until Rhaegar was dead. When the newly married couple arrives in Casterly Rock, Viserys notices that the groom is oddly reluctant. When they enter their rooms, Viserys starts stroking Jaime's face.
Husband, you seem troubled. And I've seen this kind of expression on men who were married to women they didn't love, while another that they did love still lived.
You're astute. Yes, I do love someone else.
I am not a heartless or jealous woman.
Yeah, so this was just kind of my thought was so this was dumb. In a kind of later down, Mr. Boba cut a large section out because I thought that it was fine because there's no like actual sex going on. But Mr. Boba was like cut out a large, put in a comment that said, "I hate this," in all caps. I was like, oh, shoot. I'm sorry. I frequently have to say that, but with this, I was just like, my thought would be that this chick, well, one, there's something weird in the blood for Targ women, or just women in Westeros in general, as of Fire and Blood, that they're all bi. It's kind of, there's a lot of bi or lesbian women in that era, and he just kind of throws it in. Like Cersei's kind of bi. Like she's though that she's a little bit crazy in her bisexuality. And Dany is actually kind of bi. Rhaena, Queen of the West, definitely lesbian, possibly bi. Rhaenyra, Lena, bi, very much bi. Mysaria, probably bi as well. Black Alley and Sabitha Frey, bi. Jane Eyre, lesbian. And it's just this kind of rough, abrupt explosion of things. And so my thought was, she would be like, yeah, I'm fine with it. And she would be just accepting things. And I ended up using Lagatha from her final few seasons of Vikings, because I was like, yeah, that works.
You're going to be my king consort. Perhaps we could bring her into this union, just as a secret part of it. I'd like to make sure that it's as smooth as possible.
It's not that simple. I made a vow to you.
Oh, so long as I get to have the woman as well, you're not being disloyal to me.
If I tell you, you're going to look at me differently. It could ruin everything.
Do you trust my word?
I don't know if I have any other option.
I give you my word that if you tell me, nothing will change between us.
It's my sister, Cersei. Sarah's eyes widen and a smile crosses her face. Gently, she pulls Jamie in for a sensual kiss, causing him to start, then pulls his arms around her.
Well, I can see you have excellent taste. Why don't we have her come here and join us for the evening?
Jamie's jaw drops. Not in his wildest dreams had he ever anticipated something like this. Shaking, he asks a servant to invite Cersei to his rooms under the pretext of meeting his new wife. When Cersei arrives, she's furious.
You're abandoning me? For what?
Visera comes up behind Cersei and seizes her hair before turning her around. Before Cersei can protest, Visera puts her...
Yeah, originally in the thing, she just lets her dress drop and grabs Cersei, and then like they just start running their hands over each other. Probably a good thing that was cut. That was my
into
bad.
a long, passionate kiss.
I heard you were promised a silver-haired prince. Would you be all right with a silver-haired queen as a replacement?
I wouldn't mind. No. So, you know.
I know. And I don't mind you and your brother, so long as I can have you as well. Will you be willing to be mine, Cersei?
Yes. Yes, I
Yeah,
would.
there's kind of a
Glad it's settled. Oh, I'm sorry, Jamie. We've been neglecting you. Why don't you come over here?
Even though Visera wasn't Cersei, she was still enabling him to be with a woman he loved. At that moment, Jamie determined that he would fight tooth and nail to set the Blackfire Queen on the throne. Only a few...
yeah, kind of there's a little bit cut where they're just in bed together after they've all slept together. It's kind of like, it's probably good. That was kind of the biggest cuts made from this. And Boba was like, what the heck is wrong with you, dude?
Months after the birth of Rhaenys, Rhaegar's third child, the tourney at Harrenhal begins. Despite the fact that this was likely in competition to him, Tywin arrives with his son and his new wife, announcing her as the Lady Visera Slankar of Lys. As soon as Ashara sees Visera, her eyes narrow.
Lady Visara, I must say I haven't heard of you. Or House Slemka as well.
We're not an old house. We've only recently come to prominence. It's been a few years since you were an Essos princess, so it stands to reason that you would not know every new house.
Well, I'm very impressed at your rise. Sir Jamie is quite the prize.
Indeed, I was very grateful to my good brother for arranging the marriage. It was fortuitous, to say the least.
As soon as they are out of earshot, Ashara...
Yeah, so Slankar actually is not an actual house. I made that up because it's actually kind of a deep cut reference to a really obscure animated movie called Dragons, Fire, and Ice. It's kind of crap, but the Dragon Slan is actually has got a good name. And there's a few other funny things. I kind of wish that they were able to finish the series, since they left the third movie on a bit of a cliffhanger. But I was like, you know what? I can steal some stuff from here. Why not?
Pulls Rhaegar and Robert aside, eyes filled with suspicion.
Something about this reeks of a conspiracy. I've never heard of that house, and I'm intimately familiar with every noble family in Valentis and Lys. My father has numerous contacts and ties into that city. We should watch this Visera very closely.
She probably has the right of it, Rhaegar. Lord Tywin would only marry his son and heir to someone important.
I concur. Tywin's ambition is legendary. He's been after me for years as a husband for Cersei. Him tossing his son to a Lyseni, noblewoman that nobody has heard of, is strange. When Rhaegar shoots Robert a questioning look, as his wife looks away, Robert shakes his head to indicate that this hadn't happened in his previous life. Rhaegar nods in understanding, then goes back to greeting the guests.
So, one of the funny things about Reborn with your memories is the kind of part of the formula that you have to do is that you have to throw in some unknown variable that the protagonist has to take care of. And in this case, it's the Blackfire involvement in the politics, where they're saying, oh, Ares is going nuts. Let's accelerate our plans here. And I wanted to kind of have a little bit of dialogue where it shows Ishara or Ilshara. I think I'll still do Ilshara, and I'll just have to use the Ilshara name and just say, Boba, it's Ilshara. And I'll just put it there so that you don't have any problems with it.
Once the Starks arrive, Robert immediately finds Stannis, who had been warded in the Eyrie, and embraces him. When he sees Ned, Robert embraces him like a brother, much to the young lord's surprise. When he finally meets with Lyanna, he's unable to talk for a bit. Then he bows and kisses her hand.
Lady Lyanna, I've been waiting for this moment for a very long time.
Lord Robert, I will admit that you're a bit different than I expected. I know my father has been in talks with yours about a betrothal.
Indeed. May I talk privately with you?
Lyanna glances at her father, who gives an approving nod.
Yeah,
Shrugging, she walks off with Robert, but something catches his attention as they move to another side of the hall.
And at this point, Robert sees all all of his illusions stripped away. There's actually a funny joke, since I'll spoil it. Well, we'll spoil the ending, where what happens is at the end, is they get Cersei and Visera get sent to the Silent Sisters. Probably should have made it so that they're imprisoned in the capital or something like that. But just what I decided to do was, it that's I was just like, that's probably the best option. There's kind of a funny thing where it says that, somebody put in the comments, went from Scissor Sisters to Silent Sisters. I was like, okay, that's hilarious. That's
All rise, fall on Rhaegar Targaryen. At that moment, Robert's heart starts to sink. His whole purpose was teetering. Perhaps he'd been wrong. Perhaps it had been Lyanna who'd convinced Rhaegar. No, it couldn't be. This couldn't have been for nothing.
My lady, this betrothal is something I've been waiting for, well, my whole life for.
Lord Robert, you don't know me, and I don't know you.
But I do, Lyanna.
You've never met me. You only love the idea of me. I'm sorry. I don't think I could live up to whatever ideal of me you have in your head. If you want to pursue this, I won't say no. But I don't know if we can really be successful.
Robert blinks, then stumbles backward. He'd been wrong. This was never going to work. He'd been a delusional fool. Or maybe by spending so much time with Rhaegar, he'd failed to build things with Lyanna. But there was that look of interest and longing as she'd looked at Rhaegar. His fists clench. Then he strides out the hall to one of the tents. Ishara notices Robert's departure and immediately taps on Rhaegar's arm. When the prince sees his friend heading off into the night with his shoulders slumped and fists clenched, he walks outside with his wife to follow Robert.
Robert, what is it? I saw you were talking with Lyanna. It's away from me. Even when I do everything right, even when I try to be a better man, I still can't have her. She only ever wanted you, you silver-haired bastard.
Rhaegar flinches back, then looks down. Ishara.
Yeah, with this bit, it's very much I just wanted to have Robert have the realization, wow, all of my delusions are now stripped away. I can't really I had no shot of this from the beginning. And I felt like that was important, where he's like, oh, wow, I lost before I even started. That sucks. And so for that I was just like, yeah, we gotta have this moment where since I think that Lyanna, her thing with Ned, since it could be that she actually went off with him, since one of the big things with the whole story of Lyanna is Ned doesn't ever think badly about Rhaegar Targaryen. Ever. It's really weird. If which kind of is indicating that Rhaegar and Lyanna was at least somewhat consensual. And especially since there's a whole thing about Lyanna saying, you know what? Saying he won't keep to one bed, which is really ironic. It's a series of mystery boxes and it's very frustrating at many points. But one of the things that we have is that I was like, you know what? Let's just have him actually Rhaegar be happy and not go after Lyanna, but Lyanna will still have a crush.
Walks over to Robert and gives him a hug as he starts to shake with emotion. Robert squeezes her tight, as if holding her would make the world right again. Eventually, Rhaegar takes Robert's hand and clasps it.
Robert.
It's not a matter if she doesn't hate him. I think it would just kind of be one of the things that I kind of say is, like, she doesn't hate him. It's more along the lines of I wanted to kind of illustrate that he doesn't actually love Lyanna. He loves his idea of her. And she's like, yeah, I'll do it, but I'm just like, I don't think this is going to be the passionate thing that you think it's going to be. And I think that if somebody said, like, hey, I've been thinking about this for a while, she'd just kind of be like, hey, I don't know why we don't really know each other. Why are you talking as if there's this passionate thing, she would just kind of see him as a little bit delusional. Because functionally, Robert Baratheon is a little bit delusional. And so, and he hasn't, well, he just didn't father Maya at all in this timeline. That's the idea. And that was just my thought that it's not a matter she rejects him because she hates him, it's because she's a little bit creeped out by how effusive he is, and kind of just the fact that he's kind of just pointing out, you're a little bit delusional, you don't really know me. Yeah, he just wanted to bring himself closer to Ned. Yeah.
I'm very sorry. There are other women in the Seven Kingdoms, many of which would be only too happy to marry you, but none of them are her.
Robert, you're not doomed. You tried, and you helped me and Rhaegar come closer. You have it in you to become someone worthy of love. But you can't let yourself sink into despair. Keep trying. Women like Lyanna aren't unique. We'll find one. I can help. There might be a few Dornish or Reach women who'll accept your proposal. Maybe another girl from the north.
Yeah.
Robert looks between the silver-haired prince and princess, who were just as much friends to him now as Ned had been in his previous life. Unable to contain himself, he pulls them both into a bear hug.
Robert, not breathing.
Automatically, Robert loosens his hug, though he...
Yeah, I put in a little bit of a joke from Lion King 1.5, where it's Robert choking, not breathing. But instead Boba did the Robert not breathing.
He notices that Ashara's touch lingers for just a moment. Tears in his eyes, Robert puts his hand on Rhaegar's shoulder.
Yeah, a little bit of a hint there that Elshara likes Robert. And she's kind of like been hinting at it the whole time that she's like, yeah, I like Robert. Like that's kind of the whole, one of the things that I wanted to put in there is kind of a little bit to set up that, yeah, she's fond of Rhaegar, but she really wants Robert. That's what she wants. Since even earlier in the video, she said, I was thinking he would be more like you. Yeah, and so
Thank you. The next day, Ares himself arrives, looking and acting like a madman. Despite Stefan's best efforts, the Mad King's appearance has deteriorated as his paranoia became unreasonable. His ire seems particularly focused on Lord Tywin and Jaime. Often he makes disparaging remarks about the Lyseni whore that Tywin had let his son marry. Kevin has to physically restrain Jaime from attacking the Mad King after a particularly foul insult. Rather than being offended, Sarah just smiles and spreads her hands.
The king honors me with his attention, but surely he should be more kind to Lord Tywin. After all, he did knight the king on the field.
Your good father is a grasping, arrogant prat. It's only right that his ambition caused the gods to humble him by giving him a dwarf in exchange for his wife. Watch what you say about Tyrion and my mother, Your Grace. Is that a threat, Sir Jaime?
Hardly, Your Grace. Did you not attempt to take unwanted liberty?
The both Reborn one doubly amusing. Yeah, where kind of she goes with Sarah Blackfire of all play. I was like, you know what? I kind of just have this idea in my head. Yeah, he's a teenager in a grown man's body. Yeah, super immature, and so he's just going to like throw the worst insults, and I just wanted to kind of have that where she's very polite. She's not saying anything bad. She's just kind of pointing everything out to everybody. And a lot of people say he would roast her, but she's not saying anything treasonous. She's just kind of being very polite. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that kind of he would see Sarah and I definitely wrote Sarah as less of an active participant in that story as opposed to Sarah married to Ned, which I very much made her the protagonist in that one. And I really liked writing her. And I also like writing her as a Jadis style figure in the upcoming Robert Baratheon marrying her. Yeah.
With the late Joanna Lannister and makes certain remarks about her breasts.
The whole court stands stock still, eyes fixed on the Lyseni noblewoman and the Mad King. Ares glares at Visera, eyes wide and confused. Robert narrows his eyes and leans forward. This hadn't happened in his previous life either. Something strange was happening, and he had no idea where this could be going.
Now, would it not benefit the king to behave with more grace to a man who served him faithfully and well, despite many insults? Especially when all his good work was cast aside for another without so much as a word of thanks.
Ares glares at Visera, then launches.
And you get the demon. Then you get the demon. Yeah, yeah. Though Sarah Blackfire is a little bit of a demon. She's just a little bit more a calculating demon in that. Love you guys. I hate breathing. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, she's like, oh, like I feel conflicted right now. I've got a twink, and then I've got a bit of a twink nerd who moonlights as a jock, and then I have a giant jock. The giant jock.
Into an unhinged, profane-laden tirade. Everyone in the hall looks at each other uncomfortably, but it was clear who was in control of the situation. Finally, after the Mad King departs with his Kingsguard, all of the ladies in the court flock to Visera, clearly impressed by her handling of the Mad King.
She's very clever. That was done well. Extremely calculated.
Could you explain?
She made Ares look like a complete idiot without insulting him once. She simply turned his own actions against him and forced him into a corner where he would either have to back down or double down on his raving.
Well, we want that, don't we?
No, we don't, actually. Rhaegar will need to play the perfect prince twice as much as possible to make up for it. He needs to be seen as a viable replacement for Ares if this plan is to work.
All right. I'll help too. I've got a talent for making friends.
Is your strategy get them drunk and wait for opportunities?
No. Getting them a woman or two also helps.
Ishara and Rhaegar both laugh, but there's a new element of tension between the
Yeah, so there's actually a deep bit of lore here. So, when I was a very young child, Robert marrying Sarah, she is very much a, she is unhinged. She's a little bit she's kind of a mix of a bunch of my favorite villains from cinema. But the one that I would liken her most to is Jadis from the Chronicles of Narnia, specifically how Tilda Swinton plays her. There's even a scene that I ripped straight out of it where I'll leave some measure of it a secret, but there's a whole Jadis and Edmund style scene where she's just talking to somebody in a similar manner to how Jadis talks to Edmund, and I'll leave it up to you guys to speculate on who that might be and how that traumatized. No, this is actually how when I was a very young child, I would watch the Lenwood Thompson history lectures for fun, because honestly, Lenwood Thompson is one of the most entertaining people on planet Earth, the carriage specifically. And yeah, specifically the carriage. Yeah. And I would watch those lectures all the time. And one of them was on the US Constitution. And I cannot remember the name of the guy who strategied this was. But how Lenwood Thompson described this guy was he doesn't really like how things are going. So his plan is gather all the malcontents, get them drunk, and wait for opportunities. He's a heavy drinker himself, so it works out. And so I was like, okay, I gotta use that. Because Lenwood Thompson honestly has so many funny quotes from his history lectures, and you can't really find them online for free. Sadly, you have to buy the DVDs or buy them on streaming or whatever. But they are honestly well worth listening to if you're a history buff. And he just does some funny stuff. Like he during his discussion of Russia and the fall of the Byzantine Empire, he says, my name is Princess Olga of Kiev, and he's wearing a dress and a wig, and he says, and some sandals, and he says, please forgive the facial hair. It runs in the family. He'll also do other funny stuff, like when he's a crusading knight, dressed up in armor and chainmail and stuff. He's like, I'm from the Isle of Jersey. It's just across the just off the coast of England. Don't worry. And it's honestly his discussion of the Crusades is funny. As well, just so many funny things in his lectures that I need to pull more from. I even have some historical quotes that he said that I like better than the original quote. Like oh, that I had a son like that, as opposed to the original quote that Genghis Khan said. That's actually a pretty. I actually think that's fairly accurate, yeah.
His faction and the King's faction, especially with the introduction of Tywin's faction. Robert does his best to court the Reach Lords, since it's clear that the Westerlands isn't friendly with them.
So Lemma Thompson is a history professor, and he recorded a bunch of lectures on world history and then American history, and I just decided to pull the quote from his the quote, gather the malcontents, get them drunk, and wait for opportunities, and put it into this theory as Robert's strategy, where he's like sheepishly says, no, it's not just about getting them drunk, I also get them a woman or two. But yeah, Lemma Thompson's history lectures are actually well worth listening to because they're legitimately entertaining, because he doesn't get up and just talk about the history. He'll actually put on a costume for each different lecture. And that's what got me... I played Age of Empires, and that got me interested in history, but then I fell in love with history as Lemma Thompson. I watched the Lemma Thompson lectures, and I would just watch those 30-minute lectures for fun. Like, I just watched them for fun because they're really entertaining, and my family was like, all right, you can watch these. Since we were homeschooled, and it was technically school, I was able to just listen to it over and over again. And I just love doing it.
To his dismay, though many of them are willing to drink with him, they don't seem too interested in supporting Rhaegar should he take the crown. In fact, many of the Reachmen seem to gravitate towards Jaime and his listening bride. However, the people that had supported Robert in his rebellion are more receptive to him. Jon Arryn likes the idea of Rhaegar, and he's always been friendly with Steffon. Rickard also seems willing, despite being disappointed at Lyanna's rejecting the betrothal to Robert. He understands that it wasn't Robert's fault. Though Hoster Tully and the Blackfish are interested, they haggle worse than Jon or Rickard. Hoster especially would like to try and cement the alliance with a marriage. In the end, Robert agrees to arrange a marriage between Lysa and Stannis. One family that Robert didn't expect much success with is the Martells, but with an introduction from Lewin Martell of the Kingsguard to the Red Viper smoothing the way, he's able to broker another deal of a betrothal between Ariana Martell and Viserys for their support against the Mad King and Tywin. On the final day of the tournament, a mystery knight arrives in the lists, managing to defeat all comers until he faces Prince Rhaegar. As the two men break a lance on each other's first pass, Robert and Ashara stand up and cheer. Both jousters grab replacement lances and charge toward each other. At the last possible second, the mystery knight raises his lance and smashes into Rhaegar's neck. The prince is thrown from his horse to the ground, clutching at the tipped lance through his throat. At that moment, all smiles die, then screams begin. Guards rush toward the mystery knight, but the man rides away into the distance.
I think that Lysa's probably going to be a little bit obsessed with Littlefinger, but I think that Stannis is a better judge of character than Jon Arryn seems to be, because Jon Arryn seems to be a moron. I did like writing Stannis and Catelyn. I think that they would have a pretty decent relationship, all things considered. And my thought here was this Curtis cursed timeline. Yeah, so I was like, all right, let's have something shocking happen here, where Rhaegar dies. Yeah, it wasn't too bad, yeah. It's pretty cursed in, what's this bucket? The, Robert and Rhaegar Reborn. It's also pretty it may happen at a different location, but it's functionally the same location. It's just the tourney at Highgarden, which is really cursed. And then we have, I just wanted kind of the shock of, let's kind of have them open up this possibility where they're having, they're making it so that they're doing, the others delayed in this timeline. It's funny. But yeah, I was just thinking here that we have Rhaegar and Aerys die, opening up a power vacuum where there's just a kid, and that would logically open up things for the Blackfires to take control, theoretically.
Aerys is screaming at the top of his lungs. Ashara is holding her children close, trying to cover their eyes. Robert just stares in horror at the body of his friend.
Find that man and bring him to me!
A crossbow bolt strikes the Mad King in the eye, causing everyone in the royal box to scream and take cover. Robert throws himself in front of Ashara and the children before quickly ushering them out. By this point, the entire jousting area devolves into chaos as the audience frantically try to take cover. When finally the dust settles, Rhaegar and the Mad King are both burned and sent back to King's Landing, accompanied by Arthur Dayne and Geralt Hightower. Since many of the great lords of Westeros are already there, an impromptu Great Council is assembled.
The proper line is established. Aegon shall be the heir, and the Lord Protector should be assigned. And I suppose you believe you're the one to do it, don't you, Steffon? I am the hand of the king, unless you yourself wish to assume the post, Lord Tywin. Flattered as I might be, I have a different idea. What if we were to simply elect someone else, a Targaryen by blood, but not by name? So it's treason, then?
My lord, this is a precarious...
Yeah, so poor Boba. We had a talk after this. He was like, please don't do so many characters in the same thing. I know you're trying to have, like, other people in here, but don't write this much dialogue. I hate it. It's so taxing on my voice. It takes hours.
It's time for the realm. I have been trained from my youth to rule, and I have the means and support to rule. However, I do not wish to leave my cousins bereft of their lordship. To maintain continuity, my children will marry Rhaegar's and unite our two claims.
I will not serve a false king or a false queen. The Blackfires are pretenders to the throne. Sorry, Rhaegar, but Lord Tywin and I are going to have to overrule you. Between us, we have the strongest armies in the realm. We can simply take the throne if needed. This great council is a formality.
Robert stands up and glares at Tywin and Mace. The old lion meets the Stormlord's gaze unblinkingly, but Mace shifts uncomfortably under Robert's glare.
Fuck you all. I beg your pardon. You heard me. Aegon is the rightful heir, and if you challenge his rule, I'll face you on a field of battle. Bold from a man who's never fought in a real war before.
I prefer not to lose valiant men in a pointless war. It would be a regrettable waste.
Maybe, but do you want to take the chance that I can't beat you? Aegon has Dawn, the Vale, the Riverlands, the Stormlands, and the North behind him. From where I sit, that's quite the advantage.
Perhaps, but there's not just the Reach and Westerlands. We also have the Golden Company, who by this time have taken the capital, along with Prince Viserys and Queen Rhaella.
All of the Loyalist lords exchange.
Yeah, so with this one, this vendetta is risking myself. I love that. But yeah, with that whole conversation, it feels very cinematic, but it is torturous for Boba to flick from all of those voices, especially when it's all multiple different voices and a lot of them only get one line. I probably should have just made it Stefan rather than Rickard. That probably would have eased up some of the strain. I also pulled a Quest for Camelot line. I will not serve a false king. I hate that movie, but okay. I think that movie is trash. It's kind of amusing trash. Yeah, clearly. I like that.
Startled looks.
And with this, I wanted to see, okay, they're competent. There's going to be a problem. And I also kind of wanted to have Brent, Barristan, and Arthur do a heist. I just thought that would be fun.
Sensing weakness, Tywin lays out his terms. In exchange for peace, the Loyalists will surrender the Blackfires, swear fealty to the new queen, and at that point, Rhaella and Viserys will be released. Feeling trapped, Robert clenches his fists.
You all were responsible for the deaths of Rhaegar and Aerys. You bastards planned this whole thing. Well done, lad. Now, Stefan, for the sake of our old friendship, will you surrender the throne to the Blackfires? No, you will not have my allegiance, Tywin. So it's war. Very well, we shall meet soon.
Since there aren't enough men and too many civilians, both sides retreat from Harrenhal. Unable to return to the capital, the Loyalists instead regroup at Riverrun to plan their next move. Rickard, Brandon, and Eddard head north, while Oberyn and Luwin head to Dorne. Stefan often stresses that the most important course is to ensure the safety of Prince Viserys and Queen Rhaella. With them hosting in King's Landing, there's not much that can be done without risking their lives. To ensure their safety, Princess Ashara and her children will go to the Vale, since no army can get to the Eyrie.
One major problem is the Reach. They're going to come through the Stormlands to try and take Storm's End. I need to get down there so I can meet them on the field. If I can rally the Stormlands to us, then I can defeat the might of the Reach. No one doubts your courage, Lord Robert, but we should send someone with more experience to face off against someone like Randyll Tarly. I have experience. I know exactly how Mace Tyrell will deploy his army. He's going to send Randyll Tarly out with his vanguard ahead of the main army to Ashford to take it. But what he doesn't know is that we're going to hit the vanguard and kill Randyll Tarly. Once Mace is left to himself, he's going to rush into a trap, and I'm going to set it for him here.
Everyone stares at Robert, including...
So with this bit, what I'm doing here is... This is functionally the moment where Robert kind of is outside of has been outside of his element. He's in the politics realm, and he's not very good at it. And he's also having a I love that trial sacrifice. I'll never forget that. In the throne, that's funny. I love that. That's hilarious. But one of the things but here we have Robert. He is now in his element. He is one of the premier warriors, and he's actually a very good military strategist. And if he has foreknowledge of exactly what Mace Tyrell is likely to do, since he's not going to, Mace Tyrell isn't going to change what's going what he's going to do, really. And Robert is now going to have more time because he's not going to have to deal with the Battle of Summerhall. Since all of the Stormlands are going to be behind him because he's going to be with the Targaryens. And I wanted to kind of have it be a little bit of a shift where Robert in his previous life was very anti-Targaryen, but now it's kind of reversed, and now he is fighting to protect Rhaegar's kids. And I thought that would be an interesting shift. But now we have Robert kind of now in his element, getting ready to fight.
His father, Ishara in particular, is staring at him as she's never met him before. Rolling back his broad shoulders, Robert clasps his arms behind his back and looks around to the assembled lords.
I know who and what our enemies are. I know what their strategies are, and I know how to beat them. I'm going to put Aegon on the throne, and there's nothing that can stop me. If you're going to fight, Dawn will ride to help you, though it will take some time for us to bring our spears up the Boneway. We should send ravens to speed the process of mobilization. So you mean to face the might of the Reach with only Stormlands behind you? Yes, that will allow the North Vale and the Riverlands to face off against Tywin. Out of the two, he's the most dangerous adversary. All right, if you can fix the Reach, then we will handle Tywin.
Once the final details are discussed and finalized, everyone but the Blackfish prepares for the long journey home to their kingdoms. They'll need to move quickly in order to consolidate against Tywin. To that end, the Blackfish will be using hit-and-run tactics against the Westerland host and the Golden Company to slow them down. As Jon, Rickard, and Oberyn depart, Arthur Dayne and Barristan ride towards King's Landing. Their intent is to rescue Viserys and Rhaella from the Golden Company. Before Robert leaves, Ishara stops him and asks him to meet with her.
Robert, how were you able to do that? You've never fought in a war that I know of, and how you spoke. It's a level of confidence I've never seen from you.
Rhaegar never told you, did he? I've been living my life twice, for the most part. In my first chance, I was born for war. I stormed Goldtown so I could get home to the Stormlands. I faced 3 armies in a single day at Summerhall, defeated a royal host at the Trident, then smashed the Greyjoys in battle.
So your attempts to win Lyanna were because you saw that you had a second chance. That's the reason why you didn't ask me to marry you.
I thought he was going to steal her away, but it turned out I didn't know him. The real him. I found out she never loved me, would never love me. So now, all I have to do is defend what's left of my friend.
Do you believe that they'll hurt my babies?
Based on what happened in my past life, if Tywin gets hold of them, he will kill them and won't hesitate. I'm not going to let that happen. I promise.
Thank you, Robert. Before you leave, can I give you something? You should take something of mine with you, since you are my champion.
A champion of House Targaryen. I never thought I'd see the day.
Not just House Targaryen. I want you to be my champion, Robert Baratheon.
Smiling, she hands him a small cloth with a dragon curled around a spear sewn into it. Robert turns it over in his hands, then puts it into his jacket close to his heart. Impulsively, he takes Ishara in his arms and gives her a long hug. In response, she nuzzles up to him and kisses his cheek.
Come back to me, Robert Baratheon. I will be very put out with you if you die.
Can I call on you when I return, Princess?
If you don't show me a good time when you get back, then there will be hell to pay.
Robert grins, then looks down to see little Aegon and Visenya hugging his leg. When the little children are sure they have his attention.
I know that he was in the Jon Arryn finding out about stuff. Anything on Hoster Tully. Part of the problem is we only really know that Hoster Tully is kind of a dick with the whole Lysa situation, and he's actually in theory an interesting character, but we don't get much on him, since ultimately but yeah. Hopefully my story ends better than yours, old man. Yeah. Yeah, maybe Conifer might have a shot. Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to do here yeah. Yeah. Well, we've had him show up. It's just he's hard to include because he's just kind of sick in the usual timeline. You have to go a lot earlier, and I'm just like, I just don't really like it. Haven't really thought of including him because he's not very interesting. But yeah, and I just kind of wanted to have a little bit where, kind of a little cute moment where
Be held to pay.
Robert grins, then looks down to see little
kids-
Aegon and Visenya hugging his leg. When the little children are sure they have his attention, they raise their arms toward him. Chuckling, Robert lifts
Yeah,
the
I
babies
just
into his
wanna have a
arms,
little
letting them
cute
tug on his
moment
beard.
where Robert-
Don't worry, little ones. Tywin Lannister will never touch you.
While the Loyalists hammer out their strategy, Tywin and Jaime march out into the Riverlands. However, when the Westermen arrive, the Blackfish starts to use several terror tactics from the Dance of Dragons, setting up false camps and leading them into ambushes, slowly whittling them down. As Mace marches through the Stormlands with Randall Tarley in the vanguard, Robert arrives in Storm's End, where his mother and brothers are there to meet him.
Robert, you're not actually going to ride out to war.
I am, Mother. I know how they're going to be, and I know how to beat them. Also, I'm taking Stannis with me.
What?
I want to give him a chance to show his quality. I know that he's got the steel in him to do what I need him to do.
Careful out there, boys. I'd hate to lose either of you. Before you leave, Robert, Donald Noy has something for you.
Grinning, Robert makes his way to the forge where Noy is waiting with something Robert has been waiting for a long time. Like meeting a long friend after a long parting, Robert Baratheon picks up his hammer and swings it with one hand.
At last, my arm feels complete.
When Robert and Stannis ride out, he makes straight for Ashford with only half of his force, while he
Yeah. He could geld Littlefinger. But yeah, where's this nobility in my timeline? Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. This can get out of you. Yeah. My thought was that Robert, when he kind of has a really objective view of his life, you would see, oh, Stannis was actually really good at his job. I need to use him.
sends the other points into the forest where the second part of his plan will take place. Remembering how Randall Tarley had beaten him the first time, Robert waits for just the right day after the ground is a bad storm. Once he's sure that it's muddy, Robert picks a spot between a set of hills and sets his army astride the enemy's lines of march, placing stakes in the flanks where his archers are positioned. When Randall Tarley arrives with the Tyrell van, Robert unleashes a storm of arrows on Tarley's front and flanks, while Stannis leads the light cavalry to harry the enemy and pick them off. When the Tarley forces attempt to charge, they're bogged down by the mud, allowing Robert's infantry and light cavalry to move forward and slaughter the heavy horsemen as arrows fire down on the reachman. Enraged, Randall Tarley charges toward Robert, heartsbane in hand. Bellowing, Robert meets his foe, unleashing the reach and weight of his hammer to drive Randall back.
Yeah, one of the things that I like utilizing as a trope just woke up like this. Yeah, that's great. I love that. But yeah, one of the things that I like doing in these episodes is I like having, in Reborn episodes specifically, I love having a moment where the main character gets their weapon together. And no, we haven't. Yeah, totally centric. I know in the the upcoming What If Grayscale became a spread across Westeros, that Edmure Tully is going to be the main focus of the theory, mainly because he actually represents a person who would act benevolently. Yes, we are getting a grayscale epidemic. And going insane. This is funny. Yes, we are going to be getting that. It's gonna be short. It was only about 7,000 words, because I was like, I don't have any further ideas, and I feel like including the long night with this story is just going to be tonal whiplash. Because I just felt like, no, let's just have the human costs of this grounded pandemic story where lots of characters die and others have to suffer with being mutilated in order to survive. Wow.
Back, then he gets in for the kill. Randall Tarley falls to the ground, his chest caved in by Robert's warhammer. The Tyrell van breaks and retreats back toward where the main army is marching toward them, but Robert doesn't move to pursue. He has a different idea in mind. Grinning like a naughty child, Robert pens a letter to Mace, then stakes it to a post.
Impressive victory, brother.
Aye, it was. And you did well with the light cavalry. I knew you would. Here, take this.
Stannis' eyes widen as Robert hands Heartsbane to him. Unsure if this is a joke or not, Stannis accepts the sword and bears a few inches of steel.
You're sure? This is a great honor.
I'm sure. You earned it for this and many other things. I never gave you the recognition you deserved.
What's he mean?
Sorry, I'm thinking about what could have been. But let's not talk about it. The Fat Flower is coming our way, and we need to make sure we give him a proper Stormlands welcome.
When Mace arrives, he doesn't find a Stormlander army, just a letter nailed to a post designed to keep rain from damaging it.
To the Fat... it's just rude. Flower of Highgarden. I am Robert Baratheon. I defeated Randall Tarley and your...
That was actually an ad-lib from Boba. Where he... To the Fat Flower, and he just threw in the, ugh, that's just rude. Flower of Highgarden. That was one of the best ad-libs. I did not put that in the script. That was old Boba, and that was really funny. And I was like, that is so funny. Yeah, he is just being pelted by people saying, "Hey, Fat Flower, stop calling me that." Yeah, thank goodness for Boba. Yeah, but I was like, yeah, Robert Baratheon is basically just going to be saying, you know what? I'm going to use Agincourt tactics against Randall Tarley, and I'm going to give Stannis a Valyrian Steel Sword. There was actually a joke in the comments that said him giving Heartsbane to Stannis is repayment for Stannis being married to Lysa, which I think is very funny.
Then, if you want to win the Stormlands for your false queen, then you will have to face me near the capital. If you don't, I'll take King's Landing by storm. This is outrageous. I won't stand for this. Prepare the men for full march. I'm going to teach that arrogant windbag of a Stormlander a lesson he won't soon forget.
When the Reach army rides into the...
I'm particularly proud of the arrogant windbag of a Stormlander a lesson, because there's multiple things where there's Argilac the Arrogant, there's Windbag, and Stormlander. So I feel very proud of the writing I did for that one. I'm very proud of that line.
Forest after Robert's trail, they start hearing strange sounds in the forest. Sometimes they even see a giant figure wearing an antlered helm, only to have it retreat into the mists. Mace Tyrell looks around, stroking his beard to try and calm himself. However,
so with this, this is actually pulling, just as we pulled from Agincourt in the last battle, we're using the Battle of the Torteberg Forest. Actually fit when he was younger. Raged. It was not actually other by the casual content. Let me actually check. Mace Tyrell. I think he's mostly just described as an oaf. Okay, so he was once powerful looking man. Who is once powerful looking man that has now, okay, so yeah, sorry, I just couldn't, I was just like, I like the Fat Flower joke so much that I was like, yeah. I know I probably should write that he's a little bit more a little bit fitter, because he's once like in great shape and now he's gone fat. But I was just like, he's just gotten really old. This is funny. Cersei thinks of Mace is the same age as her dad, but in reality, Mace is closer in age to her than Tywin, which is really funny.
Once most of the army is inside the forest, the traps spring. First, Stannis unleashes the heavy cavalry at the rear.
Fat Flower is really funny, though. Yeah, it's kind of wrong in the timeline, but I was just like, I can't resist. I need to put that joke in where he just gets called the Fat Flower by Ares, and then he just keeps harping on it, and then Robert just says, "Hey, Fat Flower," and he's like, "Don't call me that."
Rear guard as Robert hits the front from two sides. The middle ranks hear.
Yeah, with this I wanted to use one of the things about the Tartarberg Forest, which was basically a battle between using the where the Germans fought the Romans, and they basically hit them from all sides in ambush sites where as they're strung out in a long line of march, and they can't really do it. Mace, bro, just spamming his ult. It's not fair.
Screams, but they're caught in traps of their own as Stormlander archers begin pelting them from all sides while unleashing heavy infantry on them. After a few days of fighting in the forest, the Reach surrenders Mace Tyrell to Robert. Satisfied, Robert sends the Reach's commanders to Storm's End, while the rest of the army joins him.
All right, we need to ride north.
Under the guise of common guardsmen, Arthur and Barristan slip into the Red Keep, using false beards to conceal their identities. After some careful searching, they find that the prince and the queen are being held inside Maegor's holdfast.
The Golden Company has most of the gates well guarded. We'll have a hard time fighting our way out. We might not, actually. What if we could get a hold of a certain spider and make him tell us how to get out? Interesting possibility, but I doubt the spider would cooperate. However, that...
I honestly need to put that in. I wonder why, indeed. Yeah.
Does give me an idea. Maegor's passages. Now that's a plan. Once they agree, the two knights kill a pair of Golden Company men and toss their bodies in a storeroom. Using their new disguises, Barristan and Arthur slip into Maegor's holdfast. After a few minutes of fighting, they get the Queen and Prince Viserys. Rhaegar quickly asks Barristan and Arthur how they got there. Both knights urge speed.
We don't have much time, Your Grace. Take this dye and apply it to yours and Viserys' hair. We have servants' clothes so that we can slip you both out.
Within the hour, the King's Guards escort the Queen and her son to the docks.
Captain Davos, would you accept passage for the four of us to White Harbor? Well, I could. Please, your ship has signs of a smuggler's boat, and we'll pay you well, including a full pardon. What?
If you can get us out, you will have the gratitude of the crown.
Your Grace, at once. I'll set sail immediately.
When the news...
Yeah, I just thought it would be really funny to have Davos just be like, wait, what? What's going on here? And I think that he would be here at this point in time, and he would be like, oh, you're great, the Queen? Yes, of course. And I just, there's one person that was like, man, Davos is so baffled, and I love it.
To the rescue reaches Tywin, his anger knows no bounds. Also, with no word from the Stormlands, he's now forced to escalate. As the Old Lion marches into the Riverlands with more reinforcements from the Golden Company, 10,000 Northern Cavalry and 20,000 Knights of the Vale join the Riverlanders. Ned and Brandon harry the enemy scouts, drawing Jaime's troops further into the Riverlands away from the main force.
All right, the young lion is coming toward us. Blackfish, how much straw and dead bodies do you have? I'll also need spare armor. We've got quite a bit, actually. I think I see what you're planning, Lord Stark. It's a tactic worthy of Elmo Tully. Excellent. Ned, can you lead the cavalry? I will, brother. All right, wolf boys. Let's go on a lion hunt.
That night when Jaime and his men
could have cut Ned's line completely. That was not necessary.
find the camp, he immediately charges through the barricades, his men cutting down the sentries and setting the tents on fire. However, as the lights of the fires illuminate the camp, the Westermen find that all of the men of the camp are either straw or corpses that have been looted
so
from...
I actually decided to use the battle strategy from First Night, which is not a good movie in many respects. Lancelot is kind of a Gary Stew, and there's a lot of problems with that movie in general. But it is fun. Indeed. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on, but I know what I'm good at, so let's go. But basically, we have Mr. Brandon decided to use some terror tactics, since one of the things that they did in the Dance of Dragons, specifically the Riverlanders during the Dance of Dragons are nuts. Like, they literally put up just tableaus of dead people to just screw around with the Greens. And I was like, you know what, let's create a false camp and then lure them into a trap. And that kind of creates a, Jaime is a really moment of humanity for Jaime, where he's like, oh crap.
Battlefields earlier in the campaign. As soon as Jaime discovers that he's been tricked, the trap springs. Fire arrows fall from the trees, igniting barrels of oil and several tents that had been doused in the stuff. The sudden light blinds the Westermen, but Jaime sees the shimmer of moonlight of Northmen and Riverlander swords.
Form up! Attack! Attack!
However, the cavalry is not properly formed up with his infantry, so...
I actually have used Can I, a few times. I think specifically I used the Can I Battle in the Rob rescuing Ned video. I really like how that video turned out. I'm very proud of that one. But I have done a few like that. I probably need to do more where it's more visceral battles. It's just most of the time I don't have the time to really do it, or I have dragons. So, and that kind of kills the idea.
The Northmen and Riverlanders smash into him. Jaime is pushed back. At that point, a horn blows as the Golden Company charges in, using their discipline to shove the Northmen back. With their support of the mercenaries, Jaime rallies his men and counterattacks. Brendan and Ned retreat into the night-shrouded forest, covered by archer fire. When he's sure that the Northmen have been driven off, Jaime quickly has his men create spiked barricades. Grimacing, Jaime grabs his hand to stop it from shaking. They'd almost killed him. Almost beaten him. Never again. After the stalemate in the woods, Jon Arryn meets a selection of Tywin's army near Saltpans. However, Tywin's sheer weight of numbers seems about to carry the day until Northman reinforcements arrive and cover the retreat. In the wake of the defeat and several other skirmishes, the Loyalists retreat near the Twins.
Lord Tywin is attempting to drown us in sellsword blood. We're bleeding men, so we're going to have to fall back to Reborn. At least the prince and princess is safe in the Eyrie. Tywin is likely to focus on breaking open the bloody gates, which is going to be quite the problem for him. We can't just keep picking at Tywin. We need to beat him, ideally kill him and Jaime. Robert promised he'd be here. So what if we lead Tywin on a chase across the riverlands down toward the capital? If we can draw Tywin into a confrontation with all of us, then we'll be able to win. That's if Robert was able to make good on his promise to defeat the might of Highgarden. It might be best to retreat north or Vale, and then force Tywin into a protracted siege. No, my son can do as he claims. We need to give him time to come north. Stefan, your son is impressive, but what he's promised to do is completely insane, verging on impossible. Have faith, Jon. He'll come.
Soon the Loyalists retreat to Riverrun, as it is the best fortress in the area. Tywin has Jaime besiege the castle while he attempts to figure out a way to break through the bloody gate or find his way around. Brandon and Ned stand on the battlements of Riverrun, looking down at Jaime's host.
Do you believe Robert will do it? I don't know, but if he's anything like Stannis, then he'll come through. Hope you're right, little brother.
On the 5th morning of Tywin's siege of the Eyrie, horns start sounding from behind him. When Tywin sees the banners of the Golden Rose, he relaxes. However, once they get into charging distance, they drop their banners and begin flying the banners of the Crowned Stag of House Baratheon. As the Westerlands attempts to form up, Robert and Stannis barrel through them until they finally reach Tywin Lannister. The line of Casterly Rock attempts to fight, but against Robert and Stannis, he's outmatched. After Tywin's death, the Westerland...
Yeah, this I just some clever stuff, really, where Robert's just using some neat little cleverness there.
Army surrenders.
All right, to Riverrun we go.
When the banners of the Crowned Stag come over the horizon, Jaime is forced to turn and fight. However, as Jaime moves to charge, the Loyalists sally out of Riverrun at the same time as the Northmen who'd been raiding the camps attack in the force. Desperately, Jaime attempts to fight his way to Robert. Several Stormlanders fall to his blade until finally he comes to face with Robert.
Come here, Kingslayer. Let's see if you can beat me. What did you call me? Never mind. Let's fight.
In the midst of the battle, the Golden Mine and the Black Stag fight for life and kingdom. However, Robert's hammer smashes open Jaime's breastplate and sends him to the ground. With House Blackfire supporters defeated,
Yeah, with this, I love Robert just kind of throwing in little things from his past life. Where he's like, Kingslayer, let's fight. And Jimmy's like, what? Or Rhaegar, him telling Rhaegar, Brendan Rivers, Corn's strongest soldier. Yeah. Blood for the blood god, indeed. But one of the things that I just thought would be funny, like him saying, drink, your king commands it.
Visera and Cersei are sent to the Silent Sisters. Arthur and Barristan return Rhaella and Viserys to the capital after Robert leads the Loyalist coalition to retake it from the Golden Company. Stefan Baratheon takes up position as Lord Protector of the Seven Kingdoms, while Robert is named Hand.
One of the things that I wanted to do is that Robert is not a subtle guy, and he's just saying, I'm going to break the board. And rather than, since Stannis is a lot more calculating, and in the Stannis and Renly Reborn, he would definitely adjust things. But him and Renly together was actually very fun because they can kind of bounce off of each other.
After a short, passionate courtship, Robert marries Ashara. Aegon, Visenya, and Rhaenys look at Robert as a father, and he does his best to raise them how he wishes his previous children were raised. Another pair of children, a black-haired boy and girl, are born to Robert and Ashara, giving them both something to be happy about. When Aegon becomes king, Stefan retires to Storm's End, though Robert remains his hand. He and Ashara watch a new king being crowned. Robert feels a swell of pride as the young man walks over to him and embraces him.
Thank you, father, for everything.
Robert wraps his arms around the boy. At last, he feels he's finished with his work.
Yeah,
that's our theory. Westeros.
Emotionally stunted man-children in a lot of ways, yeah. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, they play off each other really well, and especially in the Robert and Rhaegar Reborn video, where I'm just like, all right, let's just have these two, this kind of asexual weirdo go just have a just a frank conversation, because I actually really like just having um them just be kind of a weird odd couple. Just whenever I write them, I'm like, you know what? If they're reborn, they kind of would. Rhaegar would try to do different things, and Robert would be like, "I'm obsessed with killing him," and then he would figure out, "Oh, maybe not. Huh? What is going on here?" Um, and that was kind of just my thought process, because he is just kind of just a silly man in a lot of ways. He's kind of a goober. I go over more. You can barely stand. It's like, you really don't know how to swear, do you? And I deliberately put in the line that said, um, in there, just saying swearing as if he doesn't know. More than voices. But yeah, I need to put Jason Lannister in there as kind of just a dude. That's probably because the ale. Yeah, I love that. That's funny. Alrighty, well, uh, we'll probably do Rhaegar and Robert Reborn next week at some point. I also kind of want to do a couple of commentaries on uh, the Aegon road trip episodes, specifically the Otto having his specifically Laenor actually fathering Rhaenyra as kids, and Otto discovering being discovered by Viserys. So I'll be really interested to go over that. What I'm really excited for is at some point doing the Sarah Targaryen and uh, the Sarah Targaryen arc, because I actually really liked writing Sarah Targaryen. She is functionally my OC, who just people have latched onto, and I'm very, very happy about that. I can almost understand it. Yeah. But yeah, that is gonna call it good for today. See everybody later, and we'll go see you guys later. 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 Let me just pick the outro. Okay, that works.